This is Marcus Kowal with Studio MMA and MMAnytt, and we're here in Las Vegas at the UFC headquarters with the president of UFC, Dana White. And we're here to talk mainly about UFC Sweden, obviously, which is the next UFC event to come up. And before that, just wanted to talk a little bit more about UFC for the more mainstream fans, especially in Scandinavia, that might not have followed the history of UFC and where it came from and where it is today. And for you, Dana, when you came on board with the UFC, what was the vision? When you even before you purchased it, what did you see with the UFC? When did you start watching UFC yourself?
Well, the first time that that I really got involved in UFC was everybody had seen UFC 1. You know, I saw UFC 1. But when we got involved, it was because we started taking jiu-jitsu. And through jiu-jitsu, we fell in love with the sport. And then we started to meet some of the athletes. And when I say we, I mean me and the Fertitta brothers. And it was really, you know, learning about the sport and meeting the athletes that completely got us literally addicted to the sport. Then when we went to our first ever UFC event, it was down in New Orleans at the UNO Arena down there. And literally me, Frank, and Lorenzo were sitting in the audience going, holy shit, imagine if they did this and imagine if they did that. This thing could be big. Then once we bought it, our goal was and always has been to make this a global sport.
So when you and Fertitta brothers, by the way, how did you guys know each other? How did you end up together?
Well, Lorenzo and I went to high school together. Frank was older than us, so he went to the same high school, but we didn't go together. Lorenzo and I were in the same class since we were 13 years old.
And then how did you go about to going as a spectator to watch the UFC, to purchase in the whole organization?
Well, we'd always been big fight fans our whole lives since we were kids and whatever, and I was involved in boxing. That's what I did for a living. And, you know, Lorenzo went away after high school, I went away after high school, and then when we both got back to Vegas, we actually bumped into each other at a mutual friend's wedding. And we started talking again, and I was you know, managing guys and involved in boxing, and he had just got appointed to the athletic commission here in Nevada. So, you know, we started doing stuff together, and then we had gotten to the point where we said, you know, we should get involved in boxing. We were going to do something in boxing. We didn't know what, and then this whole MMA thing happened.
And then taking it from where it was and making it, you know, as a $3 billion company. From day one, you said the vision was to make it global, but did you at all, you always have plans, but the size of what UFC is today, was that something you foresaw 10 years ago?
We did. We thought it was possible. We thought that this thing, here's the reality, and you know this better than anybody does. First of all, when I go out there and try to convert people into MMA fans and try to explain to them what it is, I was converted.
Right.
I thought MMA was ridiculous.
Right.
I said, shit's ridiculous. It's like, you know, these guys rolling around on the ground. Who the hell would think that that is exciting? Right. Until you get into it. And when you start to learn about this sport, it literally becomes addicting. Yeah. You become addicted to it. And it's a very fun lifestyle and culture. That, you know, all the other people that are fans of mixed martial arts, you know, when you meet them, probably one of the biggest misconceptions, other than people die in this sport. People think that people die in this sport when there's never been a death in the almost 20-year history of the UFC, or a serious injury. That's probably misconception number one. Number two is people think that if they went to a UFC event, it's probably scary. It's probably a violent place to go to. It's one of the coolest atmospheres with the most energy, and you will have the best time ever. It's the most exciting live sporting event you will ever see, and Sweden's about to find out. But it's just, this thing is so addicting. And I always believe that if we brought it to the masses and you know, packaged the right way, this many people want to see a freak show. This many people want to see a real sport, you know, with real athletes. And I believe that a combination of everything, the way, you know, the fact that it is a sport, it is regulated, the way that it is packaged, the live event and the television show, and the fact that every time we put on an event, these fighters perform, man. You know, it's a partnership between, we're the bells and whistles, they go in and they fight and they deliver. In 1,700 fights that I've seen over the last 11 years. 1,700 fights, 11 years, I can count on one hand how many shows we've had, full shows, that have sucked.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. And that's obviously the matchmakers for the UFC, Joe Silva, Sean Shelby. When it comes to the matchmaking, I can imagine that in the beginning especially you partook quite a bit. Do you still? Do you call up Joe and say, hey, how about this fight or this matchup?
Yeah, well, Joe and I talk about, you know, the fights that are coming up, what we're going to do. You know, those guys will lay out the card. And then I do make some of the fights myself, too. Depends.
Really?
Yeah.
Still, till today?
I tried to make a fight this week. Didn't
Really?
work out too good, but I tried.
Who was that?
Dan Henderson and Shogun 2. Tried to make that fight. I was going to do that in Calgary. But Dan Henderson wants to wait and fight for the title.
Right, right. So 10 years from now, you've created this imperium of UFC and done more than anyone's done for the sport of mixed martial arts. Where is the UFC 10 years from today?
Oh, God. Let's go 5. Let's go 5 years. Because I can tell you where we'll be in 5 years. Our deal with Fox is 7 years.
Right.
Over the next 2 years, we're working our asses off to get this Fox deal dialed in, fuel FX and Big Fox. You know, as far as the production goes, as far as the type of programming we're going to continue to put together, fine-tuning the new Ultimate Fighter that's live, and reaching out and letting not only the hardcore fans, the sometimes fans, and people who aren't fans yet know that we're on Fox.
Right.
That's a bigger job than people would imagine. How many people that I still talk to on Twitter that have no idea that we're on Fox, FX, and Fuel?
Really?
Oh, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next 2 years. In the next 5 years, I will have this shit so dialed in, it'll be coasting. We'll be coasting in 5 years on as far as the Fox programming goes. The important thing about the programming we put together on Fox is that's the programming that will be distributed to the rest of the world, too.
Right.
And in 5 years, I mean, God, we'll be in New York, we'll be in, you know, every country that we're not allowed in right now, like France, you know, we're working on France. We'll have the international pretty dialed in, too. So
with this move to Fox and the Ultimate Fighter, obviously so far it's been a success on Fox, and with the move over, how big of a change was it to go from Spike TV over to Fox, and especially when it comes to the Ultimate Fighter show for you?
Huge. It's a lot of work. I mean, if you look at just somebody did a story recently, and all they know is the fights that I've done, that I've flown to, right? Since the beginning of the year, and this story was 3 weeks ago. I've been 20 different places since then. Since the beginning of this year, I've already flown more than an NBA team will all season.
Wow.
A Major League Baseball team will all season, or the NFL. I've already put more miles out, over 40,000 miles 3 weeks ago in flights. I've done an entire season of The Ultimate Fighter in Brazil.
Yeah.
I'm on episode 3 of The Ultimate Fighter here in the United States. Plus, I've been to Omaha, Nebraska, Atlanta for a press conference, Chicago, Japan, Australia, and a million other places in between that I can't even remember. So the workload right now is insane. And, you know, there's people inside our organization and in Fox that think I can't do it, that think that it will be physically impossible for me to do what I'm going to do this year.
I don't think just within Fox. We were actually just talking about it with Studio MMA and MMAnytt yesterday, and you know, the president of the United States, we used to think was probably the busiest man in the world, but starting to believe it's the president of the UFC.
Yeah.
You know, you have a family. How does it work?
He's got bigger fucking problems than I do. But for instance, I will film. It's coming up. I'm going to film The Ultimate Fighter on Friday. I will jump on the plane as soon as that fight's over, fly to Sweden. I will land in Sweden at 6:30 at night. The fight starts at 6:30. I'll go straight to the arena.
Right.
We'll do the fights that night. I'll jump back on the plane, fly back to the United States, go to Atlanta.
Right.
We'll do our fight in Atlanta. Then from Atlanta, I'll fly straight down to Brazil for a press conference in Brazil, and then back to Las Vegas. For The Ultimate Fighter on Friday.
How is it possible? How is it on your health? How is it with family? You know, you have a wife and kids. How is it doable?
You just got to do it. I mean, you have to do it. I mean, who's going to do it if I don't? It has to be done. And, you know, I do a pretty good job of balancing and you know, I make it happen. I make it work. People say it can't be done. You watch. It's already, what month is it? March?
Yeah.
It's March, right? We're going on April.
Yeah.
And I've already done what I've done since January.
Do you continue like that for the rest of the year?
Next 2 years. It's going to be like that for the next 2 years for me. I already know and have my mind set, and, you know, I know that this is what my life's going to be like for the next 2 years till I get this thing fucking dialed in.
And then what? Are you starting to look for a Dana White replacement? You know, especially when you're going to go, you mentioned it before, you want to do the Ultimate Fighter as an international, winner takes it all between the countries kind of thing.
In all those countries that we're starting up, India, Australia, the UK, and I think the Philippines and Canada, so that's 5 of them, I will do every one of those shows. I'll be in the first 2 episodes and the last 2 episodes.
It's crazy, insane.
And then we had a situation this season in Brazil where something happened and they put me in via satellite.
Wow. Oh, and now obviously we had some fans coming in from the fans in Sweden, some questions coming in from the fans in Sweden, and one of them was, when can we expect the Ultimate Fighter Scandinavia?
Well, the thing that sucks about the Sweden thing, I've never been to Sweden. I've always wanted to go to fucking Sweden.
You still haven't been there?
No, I've never been there.
Never
been to Sweden.
So 14th of April is going to be the first day.
First time I've ever set foot on Sweden fucking soil. And I will be there for like 5 hours.
Wow. So you don't even get to see Stockholm?
I'm not going to see anything. I'm going to go in, do the show, and then fly back out again. But it won't be our last trip to Sweden, so I'll see it next time, I guess.
That's another question, obviously,
if the Ultimate Fighter wasn't running right now, it wouldn't be a problem. See, the next 13 weeks is what makes it really hard on me. Because I go from the Friday fight right to some other destination in the world for our fight on Saturday.
That's crazy. But for the Ultimate Fighter, Brazil being the first international Ultimate Fighter, how's it been? Was differences?
It was awesome. You know, there really aren't a lot of differences other than the language. You
Really?
know? Yeah. It was pretty much the same. I think when you see it, you guys will, you know, it's the Ultimate Fighter.
So international fight fans will be able to see, not just the Brazilian fans, and not just in the United States as well. Other countries will be able to view the Ultimate Fighter Brazil.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, you guys know how this sport is. You know, everybody wants to see everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that content will go up on UFC.com.
Right.
Right. And I think that's this Sunday, right? Yeah, this Sunday. The first episode of The Ultimate Fighter Brazil airs this Sunday on UFC.com.
Don't miss it. UFC.com.
And then Fuel TV picks it up this summer.
Wow. And Sweden, you mentioned it, you're not going to be the last time you go over there. Sold out in 3 hours. You know, it's filled the biggest arena in Sweden to date. Where'd you go from there with a country such as Sweden? What would be the next step?
Oh, we want to go. You know, we're working on India and China right now. Korea, we want to go to. France is one we're working on hard.
Yeah, imagine. It's a huge, what's it, Thai boxing?
Yeah, when you were talking about 5 years, the 5 year, we'll have been in all those places in the next 5 years.
So can Sweden expect an annual show in Sweden, or is that how does it work?
Well, it works like this. When you sell out tickets in 3 hours, we're fucking going back there. That's how it works. It's pretty much a no-brainer.
All right. The fight card, the main event, obviously, Alexander Gustafsson, who's the biggest name when it comes to Swedish mixed martial arts, headlining the show.
Let me tell you this before you even get into that. You know, I don't know how long you guys have been out here and what you've been doing out here and who you've been visiting and what you've been filming, but Forrest Griffin told us that he's been out here.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
He's here right now.
And he's been beating the living shit out of everybody. Forrest Griffin said, this guy's the real deal.
Yeah.
And he's been out here in Vegas kicking everybody's ass. So that's pretty interesting, huh?
He's out here, and there's a couple of other guys who are out here too.
He said people don't even want to spar with him.
Really?
He said he came to Las Vegas so he could, you know, work with all the best guys in the world and up his game. And I guess he's been out here beating the shit out of everybody. Like, people are like, yeah, I'm not fucking sparring with him today.
Wow. And his game is really going to be tested a lot of fans actually feel that the switching opponent from Lil Nog to Thiago Silva is a step up in competition.
Isn't it funny how that happens? You know, we set a fight, and then when guys get injured, we're actually fortunate enough that we're able to slide somebody in that's usually even better than what the original fight was, you know?
How do you see it?
I think it's a sick fight. I mean, Thiago Silva's nasty. I mean, this guy is a very aggressive, nasty fighter. I agree with whatever fans have been saying that. I agree. I love this fight.
And what about the rest of the Swedish fighters on the card? Another 4 fighters are on that card. How do you go about and find the fighters, Joe and
that's what Joe and Sean do. As we move into all these other territories now, and you watch, you know how big it is in Sweden. I don't. Okay,
right.
You know how big it is in Sweden. However big you think it is in Sweden right now, wait till we put this event on. Every time we go into a new market and we put on an event, just starts this explosion of mixed martial arts, man. If you think it's big in Sweden now, wait till this event happens, because from what you guys are telling me. I was in Calgary yesterday.
Right.
1,300 people showed up for the press conference. They were cheering like there was a fight going on. This Calgary, I'm so excited for this Calgary event, man. I just know this thing's going to be crazy. I'm actually already thinking that we're going to move the stage back for the weigh-ins, because I think if 1,300 people showed up for the press conference, imagine how many people are going to show up for the weigh-ins. Wow. You know, so it's probably going to be crazy up there. And I'm assuming from what you guys are telling me, I haven't been there yet, that Sweden will be just, pretty much the same. Once you experience this event and you leave that arena that night, you're like, holy shit, that was incredible. The buzz and the energy. And then, these people go and tell 10, 15 people about what they saw that night. And it just really starts the entire buzz for mixed martial arts in every market we go to.
So you heard it, 1,300. That's the goal. We're going to break that in Sweden on the 13th of April for the weigh-ins.
That was just the press conference.
That's true. That's the press conference.
That was just the press conference.
So what is it about the Canadian fans? What is it like? Toronto, we were up there for Toronto. You talk about how people talk about the sport. Just thinking about Mark Hominick coming out to "I'm coming home," it gives me goosebumps. Just thinking about it. What is it about the Canadian fans? 55,000 people in an arena.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, to do events like that, and I don't know if you guys saw that I announced yesterday that we're doing a soccer stadium in Rio for Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen, outdoors soccer stadium, and I think this is one of those. The Chael Sonnen Anderson Silva fight, I think, will be one of the biggest sporting events of the year. I'm not talking
sporting events.
Sporting events. I'm talking NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, World Cup, Formula One, you name it. I think this is going to be one of the biggest sporting events of the year.
What's the goal? What's the projections? What's the numbers you guys are aiming for when it comes to views, gate?
Well, we're doing an 80,000 seat soccer stadium. 80,000 seats. And as far as I think the whole world wants to see this fight. Everybody's interested. I mean, we're in 175 different countries, in 22 different languages, and over 500 million homes worldwide on television.
Wow.
And I think, wherever those fans are, in whatever countries they are, they want to see Chael versus Anderson.
And a lot of Brazilian fans obviously want to see Anderson's whooping Chael Sonnen's ass. It's no secret after everything's been said, and he's done a great job pumping up the fight. Do you guys feel you need to put in more security for Chael when he walks out to the arena?
Well, it's obviously we're going to take all the precautions to make sure that he's safe. But, let me tell you what. I don't think anything's going to happen to him down in Brazil. I think he's going to be just fine. I think the Brazilian fans would love to see Anderson beat the shit out of him. You know what I mean? I think that's a fact. But I don't think that his life is in danger if he goes down to Brazil.
No,
No,
probably not. Now, when it comes to safety, there was been some talk back and forth about safety of fighters not tapping. The one we saw was Miesha Tate versus Ronda Rousey. But the argument obviously is, the fighter has the option to tap. What's your personal opinion about fighters obviously showing it's amazing not to tap, but, an injury that's going to take from anywhere from 6 months to a year to heal up from?
I'm a big fan of tapping. You know what I mean? Listen, we all know how this sport works, and you know, if you've been rolling for any amount of time, you know when somebody's got a deep, tight armbar on you.
Yeah.
And you're able to tap in this thing. But if you don't tap, that's your option. You know? The ref is waiting to watch for your tap.
Right.
You know? No matter how much that arm's bending or what's happening, he's waiting for you to tap. Because we've all seen cases too. Miesha Tate's perfect. The first armbar she got out of.
Yeah.
And then continued to fight and punch and everything else. So it's up to you. If you want to be stupid or prideful and not tap, you absolutely, positively know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Are you surprised to see, you know, a woman actually staying there, not tapping, still not tapping, as the arm dislocated?
No, the thing that I loved about them, you know, when we talk about women's MMA, I say the same thing all the time. There are not enough good women to create an entire division.
Right.
You know? But every once in a while, there will be a fight, and Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey was that fight. I mean, Miesha Tate, she's one of the best in the world in her weight class. She's tough, and she's nasty, man. I mean, to sit there, I know what it feels like to be in an arm bar. Yeah. Let me tell you what, I would have tapped to what she didn't tap to. So as much as you heard me say 2 minutes ago how stupid it is not to tap, got to respect it too. And she got out of that first arm bar.
Yeah,
It'd be one thing if she got into that arm bar and was like, I'm not tapping. She got out of the first one.
Yeah.
You know, when Ronda Rousey gets you in an arm bar, that's serious shit.
Yeah. So you mentioned it, that there's not enough women to create a good division.
Enough really good women.
True. Really good women to make it an exciting event, right?
Well, no, to create a division. You don't have enough really, really good women to create a division. For instance, my best example is the heavyweight division. Because every other division I have is stacked with guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The heavyweight division has always been a division. It's hard to find really big, good, talented guys that aren't playing football or basketball or, you know, some other sport. Well, now our heavyweight division is at a point where, for instance, this heavyweight card that we're doing this summer.
Yeah.
People are like, oh shit, people are pumped about this card.
Yeah.
Every heavyweight fight is a great fight against great fighters. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. We don't have a deep enough women's division to where, you know, to be honest with you, I think we're going to be in a position with Ronda Rousey pretty soon where there's nobody exciting for her to fight.
Can you see her matching up against Chris Cyborg?
Yeah, that'll probably happen.
You think it will?
Oh yeah, I think that'll happen.
So
she'll make the weight.
Yeah. So say 5 years from now, or even 3 years from now, as the sport continues to grow, and you know, females as well as men continue to improve the level of the fight game, can you see one, a women's division in the UFC ever? I know we've spoken about it before, and two, potentially a women's Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about my 2 year, 5 year, you know, I have no idea. That's something I've never thought of. We'll have to see how women's MMA progresses. The fact that there is a Ronda Rousey and a Miesha Tate right now, and the things that I've been saying to you since we've been talking here on how big this thing's getting all over the world, and you know, there are lots of women training in this sport.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
So there is.
I hope the answer is yes.
Okay, so you would be for it as long as there's enough quality.
I'll tell you right now, you know, and I'll be 100% honest with you, I was never a fan, man. I was
Really?
Never. I went to this show up in Northern California 7, 8 years ago, right? And there was this fight with these two girls, okay? One girl fought just like Randy Couture and looked just like Randy Couture, by the way. The other girl was this beautiful girl that looked like she took about 12 Taibo classes, okay? Wow. And it was one of the worst beatings I've ever seen, right? Now, sometimes people will say, oh, God, this sport's so brutal, I can't watch, when men are fighting.
Yeah.
Now, when you throw women in there and those type of fights happen with women, it's just, especially when you get a lopsided fight.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say having a division. But I will tell you this, and I'm just being honest, Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate have changed my mind. They have changed my mind. I was excited for that fight.
Yeah.
It was an awesome fight.
Yes.
They both look like two skilled mixed martial artists, and they changed my mind. So if more Miesha Tates and more Ronda Rouseys keep popping up, the answer would be yes.
So the quality of female fighters, as well as quality of male fighters from where the sport was 10 years ago, not just marketing and business and so on, but the level of fighters to where it is today. You've been there since day one, obviously, for the Ultimate Fighter show. Do you notice a difference in how the guys train? Not just the different level of athletes coming into the show in itself, but the level of training, the regimen of training that they... Have you seen a difference from season 1 to now?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, just the guys that I knew, you know, when we first bought this company, like Chuck Liddell, yeah, he wrestled and he did some kickboxing.
Right.
Then he had to learn everything else. And then, you know, you had Couture, who was a wrestler and had to learn everything else. These kids that are coming in today, they trained at a young age as mixed martial artists.
Yeah.
You know, so the whole level of, not to mention the fact that the training has changed, but again, the guys, what I was talking about, the heavyweight division, guys that would have played football, basketball, or some other sport, John Jones.
Yeah.
Now these guys are coming in and doing mixed martial arts instead because there's money here. We're on major networks all over the world. It's just, this has become a real sport. And then when you I mean, come on, let's be honest here. You know, do you want to be a fucking football player throwing a football around? Or do you want to be the heavyweight champion of the fucking world? I mean, seriously, is there any debate?
No, absolutely
Hell no.
not. Absolutely not.
And especially the fact that, you know, you can become a huge superstar, make tons of money, be on television. You know, I'd take a mixed martial. And to be honest with you, being a mixed martial artist is a lot safer than playing football. The average career in the NFL is like 4 years or something like that.
Wow.
Randy Couture fought till he was 40-something. You know, the sport's a lot safer, way cooler, and, you know, a lot more longevity in your career.
And when it comes to the pair fighters and how they're doing, you guys have created several millionaires from the sport, taking the sport to a completely different level. But there's been some talk lately about, you know, what fighters get paid and so on. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. In the next 5 years, too, that's the other thing, too, that's going to happen is the money's going to get bigger and bigger, too. But these guys are making, trust me. You guys know what my opinion is on fighter pay. I don't talk about it, and I don't whatever. They're making plenty of money, believe me. Plenty of fucking money. You got guys that you know, if you, I'll give you an example, and I'll talk about one guy's pay. If you look at somebody like Forrest Griffin,
yeah,
right? Forrest Griffin came off season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter, and he did very well. He became very popular. He ended up winning the title. He had the title, I think, for one fight, and then lost his next in his first title defense, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, he hasn't been a huge superstar. He hasn't been an Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, or some of the other guys that have held the title for a while and become big superstars. But, you know, he's had a pretty decent name in mixed martial arts. He's a fucking multi-millionaire. Okay?
Say so right there.
There you go. Don't let the fact that he's still driving the fucking car that he won on season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter today, that just means he's cheap and he's doing the right things with his money. But, you know, the one thing that I never have and I never will, I don't talk about the money because first and foremost, it's nobody's fucking business. You know what I mean? When you see the fighters, when you see our fighters rallying to get together to say, fuck this shit, we need more money, you don't. What you see is the media and other fucking people around buzzing around because they want to know. They want to know what these guys make. And if in the 11 years, 1,700 fights, I've never seen a worse fucking ass whooping. I mean a just fucking straight out, ugly, vicious fucking beating than the beating Lorenzo Fertitta gave that guy from ESPN. Okay? So if that doesn't tell the fucking story, nothing does.
But, you know, like you said, you don't like to talk about it, and it's not any, you know, it's not people's business, but you give out bonuses in the locker rooms to great fights, to fight of the night. Now it's becoming a little bit more known, but you've done it for years, and you kind of kept it under the radar.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's nobody's business.
But it's
how much money guys make? Believe me, when we first, let me tell you this story. When we first did the deal with Fox, right, and we're sitting in the room with all the Fox executives, and you know, we're talking about kicking ideas around about promoting the sport and all this stuff, and they said, and they asked how much these guys make. So when we started laying out how much money these guys make, the guys from, now Fox deals with the NFL, Major League Baseball, NASCAR. So we lay out how much these guys make, and they're like, are you fucking shitting me? Why would you not promote that everywhere? That these guys make this much money? Blah, blah, blah. And they said, remember the big Tyson fights? Every time Tyson fought, it would say he was making 40-something million for this fight, he was making this and that.
Yeah.
And then I said, and look what happened to Mike Tyson.
That's true. That's a good point.
You know what I mean? And there was a, right when that was going on, that talk with ESPN, is when, you guys won't know about this probably, but there was a baseball guy here named Prince Fielder. Okay? He's Cecil Fielder's son. And he just signed some outrageous contract. I don't remember what, like 300 million or some crazy shit. I don't remember the number, but it was some crazy number. All you fucking heard about on the news for an entire week was that this guy made 300 million bucks. Now, when he got this contract deal, I bet he was pumped, right?
Right.
Let's talk to him in 2 fucking years.
So much as that.
Yeah. Let's talk to Prince Fielder in 2 years and see how excited he is that the press pumped for an entire week how much money he was making. You know what I mean?
I know the shocks.
It's a fucking curse, man.
Yeah.
And when you're a professional athlete, what you're supposed to be focused on is training and keeping everything together. It's hard enough to keep everything together in your life without having all these scumbags and fucking Klingons and maggots coming trying to fucking take from you.
Right.
And that's what happens. I have sat down and talked to Mike Tyson at length about his life and the shit that he went through and what went on. And many other boxers too.
Right.
I know how this shit works, man. And the reality is, it's nobody's fucking business how much money these guys make. They only want to know for bad reasons.
Yeah. No,
they want to publish it, print it everywhere. And what's the thing that happens in baseball too? They start saying, this guy's making 300 million and he's not even fucking producing. What a fucking bum. Get rid of this guy. We're paying this guy 300. Fuck you. Fuck you. All these people that want to know how much money these guys make, it's none of your fucking business. Period.
Good point. Good point. So with these fighters, you mentioned that, you know, you created millionaires and they're making good money. Oscar De La Hoya, when he founded the Golden Boy Promotions, was trying to get fighters educated in business and so on. What's your recommendation to, obviously everyone's different, everyone's got different personalities and so on. It was up to you. What would you want fighters to do? What would be the ultimate thing to do once you decide that your UFC MMA career is over? We've seen you take in Chuck Liddell with the UFC and so on. But what else?
Well, you got to understand, Chuck Liddell is a guy whom a lot of people that don't understand the early days of MMA and what was going on and how the landscape looked back then. I mean, this guy couldn't have been a better friend, a better fighter, a better world champion, a better partner. I mean, he helped us build this business.
Right.
So everything that this guy has earned, everything that he has achieved, and everything that he has going on for him right now, he absolutely, positively deserves. And then what we've been doing, I don't know how many years we've been doing it now, but we've been doing this thing called the Fighter Summit, where we fly in all of our fighters from all over the world, and we sit them down and we talk to them about, you know, pay their taxes. Fucking don't do this, don't do that. We go through this whole list of things that we think people should know. And the key, the biggest thing when you're a professional athlete, when you're an actor, when you're a musician, is paying your taxes. Because you're responsible. You know, let's say you get a check. Say you get a check from us for $2 million. Just throwing it out there. Sounds like a fun number. You get a check, because this is why I say 2 million. Because this is how fucking crazy it is. So you get a check for $2 million. Fuck, I got $2 million, man. I'm gonna buy $1 million house. I'm gonna buy a new fucking car. Maybe I'll buy 2 cars, trick them out, do this. I'm gonna take my girl on that trip she wanted to go on. I'm gonna buy my mom a fucking house. You got $2 million. No, you don't. Depending on what tax bracket you're in, the government's gonna take almost $1 million of that fucking money.
Even in the United States? I thought that was just in Sweden.
Fuck no, man. Here too. It's crazy over here. Economy's hurting. They need our money. So yeah, you know, you think you got $2 million, you don't have fucking $2 million. And that's what happens to a lot of these, you know, actors and rappers and musicians and, you know, the list, and fighters. The list goes on and on.
Right.
You get a check for $2 million, it's not $2 million. You have to pay your taxes. So when you start thinking about all the shit you're gonna, and you're sitting there, you're going, how the fuck did I blow $2 million? Well, you didn't really have $2 million. You had $1 million something, $1.2 million, or whatever it is after you paid your taxes. You know. So we try to. My point to that long stupid story was, we try to educate these guys on this so that shit doesn't happen to them. The money that these guys make, here's what I can't do. It's like everybody's like, when are you going to get harder on fucking steroids? And when are you going to do this? And when are you going to do that? And you know, how are you going to make it so that these guys stay healthy? And how are you going to make it? How the fuck can I really do all? I mean, these guys are grown men.
Yeah.
We do the best we can. You know, I mean, if you look at what the Nevada State Athletic Commission does on steroids,
yeah,
the government fucking regulates us. We're the most regulated sport on the fucking planet, okay? On top of that, now we're testing everybody that comes in to the UFC. If you sign a contract with us, you're being tested for all kinds of drugs, right?
Wow.
Since season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter, you were tested for everything before you came on Tough. Background checks, fucking everything, right?
Nice.
So we do all this stuff already, and then somebody will get popped and everybody runs to me. I have 375 guys under contract. I run this huge business. I just told you what the next 2 years of my fucking life are going to be like, and I'm supposed to be babysitting these guys? They're grown fucking men. You know what I mean? If a guy gets a check for $2 million, I can't tell him how to fucking spend it. No. All I can do is tell him what the realities are and what can happen if you don't do the right things. And you don't want to be this guy that your career ends and you've blown all your fucking money and you're standing around going now, oh shit, what do I do?
No.
You know?
Yeah, good point.
It's easy to point the finger and say, oh, he should do this, he should do that, but there's only so much you can really do.
And you mentioned Mike Tyson, you sat down with him. You came from a boxing background yourself. Are you still a boxing fan?
Love boxing. Yeah, I love it. If there's a great boxer, not only will I watch Pacquiao versus Mayweather, I'll be there.
Next question. Really?
I'll be there. I won't miss that one.
Would you put money on it?
Hell yeah, I will.
And who would you put the money on?
Pacquiao.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
I like Pacquiao. Especially the longer this thing goes, dude, Floyd's 35 years old.
That's a good point.
Pacquiao's 33. You know what I mean? The longer Floyd drags this thing out, I think the worse it is for him. And I hate the fact that he wants to call himself the best in the world, but isn't willing to, step up and prove it.
You got to fight everyone.
You do. You got to do it. If you really believe that, then fucking take the fight. Give him the 50-50 split. If there's ever a fight in the history of the world that deserves 50-50, it's this fight. These guys are going to make almost $100 million apiece. And I truly believe this is the last boxing event that pretty much most of the world cares about. Most of the world wants to see this fight.
Can you, 5 years, 10 years from now, do you think there'll be a day that UFC fighters will make $100 million for a fight like that?
I do.
Yeah?
I do. As it continues to, the thing is, you don't know where this thing's going.
Excluding inflation.
Meaning, where are we going with pay-per-view?
Right.
Are we going to subscription? How's this whole television internet thing going to change? So we'll see what happens.
I have 5 quick questions for you from the Swedish fans. I'm going to ask you real quick and just quick answer. I wrote them down because I couldn't remember them all.
Or ring it.
Swedish meatballs, good as shit.
Never had them. You tell me.
Fedor Emelianenko in the UFC? Yeah.
No, he'll never fight in the UFC. He's past his prime, and let me tell you what. And you've heard this story before, and it's fucking true, and you know it's true, Vadim, you sneaky bastard. We flew out to this fucking island in the middle of nowhere and gave them the best fucking deal in the history of mankind. And Vadim, I bet you wish you could jump in a fucking time machine and go back there and take that deal now, don't you? The dummy.
We already spoke about this, why hiding the locker room bonuses. You already spoke about that. Sweden, can they expect an annual trip to Sweden every year?
It was very successful, sold out fast. I don't see why we won't be going to Sweden all the time now.
First time though, April 14th, UFC in Globen. Dana White's first visit to Sweden.
Yep.
Looking forward to see you in Sweden for the first time. And
pumped to go.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Any fights, except from the main event, obviously, that you're really pumped to see?
I love the whole card. It's a great fucking card, man. I'm excited for the Paulo Thiago fight. what's the other really good fight on that card? Where's the card?
You have that card? Oh.
I got it. I should have it here. Yeah, right here. Diego Nunes is fighting.
Yes.
From The Ultimate Fighter. He's explosive, and he's fighting Dennis Seaver. That should be a sick fight.
You'll see an interview with Diego this week on Stu MMA as well.
Oh, yeah? You got him?
Yeah, he's training down with us in
and
LA.
I always love when Brian Stan fights.
Yeah.
It's always fun to see Brian Stan. Let's see, what else? We got DeMarcus Johnson's always fun.
One of the questions actually from the fans was why Pacquiao versus James Head?
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. You're going to have to call Joe Silva about that one, man.
Hey,
why not?
Yeah.
Why? Do you guys hate that fight? What do you think that's a weird fight or something? Because they're both welterweights? I don't know. You're going to have to ask Joe Silva about that one.
All right.
I can't answer that question for you.
April 14th. Thank you so much, Dana. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, brother.
Hope to see you back in Sweden soon.
All right.